Okay, so in a nutshell, the TLDW of this video. Success blinds us. When we succeed, we are not really able to see what led us to our success. And in point of fact, we tend to fool ourselves as to why we succeeded. It's only in failure that we are able to see what happened. It's only in failure that we are able to see our weaknesses, our bad decisions, the mistakes we made. It's only in failure that we can improve ourselves. That's why failure is so important. And that's why success can be so dangerous. I can't smoke in the studio, and even if I could smoke in the studio, I wouldn't smoke in it because I don't like the smell of stale cigarettes. But oh man, I need a cigarette right now, but I can't for various reasons. I have to stay here because I'm waiting for a call, and so I'm just faking smoking a cigarette, and so just keep your snide little comments to yourself, please. Thank you. When you succeed, especially when you succeed young and you succeed at something big, you're going to think to yourself that you are so fucking smart. Yeah, because it happened to me. Because when I was young, I succeeded rather spectacularly in publishing. And it was only years later, decades later really, that I realized how lucky I'd been. It had been luck. Yeah, of course, I'd actually written a book that was fairly decent, that was commercially viable, sure. But it wasn't because I was so great. It was, a lot of my good fortune was because exactly that. I got lucky. I didn't believe it at the time. Oh no. At the time, I thought it was because I was a genius, right? Because that's what success does to you. It makes you drunk. When you get into the champagne room after a big success, what do? You pop open the champagne bottles and you start getting drunk. And you buy your own bullshit. What's more to the point? See, as you succeed, you start to ascribe to yourself your success. There's that saying, you know, that success has many fathers. I mean, sometimes success has so many fathers that, you know, you really wouldn't want to meet the mother. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, when you succeed, you start to say to yourself, I wasn't lucky. I didn't catch a few good breaks. I succeeded because I'm so fucking smart. I'm so fucking talented. I'm so fucking wonderful. That's what you start to think. But when you fail, you don't go to a champagne room, now do you? When you fail, especially when you fail at something big, you wind up in a bed alone, jumping awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, and wondering what the hell happened. That's failure. And failure, obviously, is not pleasant. I've failed a number of times in my life. And it was not fun at all. It was fucking horrifying. But, you know, that's life. It's successes and it's failures. But what happened to me, at least, was that in my failures is when I really learned about myself, about my qualities and my deficiencies, my great virtues and the things and abilities that I lacked, the necessary qualities for success that I lacked, that I needed the help from others so as to achieve success, which I ultimately did. But you see the point that I'm trying to make here. It's very simple and it's very obvious. Because when you fail, there are essentially two paths you can take. One path is to rationalize your failure. Just as you rationalize your success and say that you're so fucking brilliant, one path in failure is to rationalize that failure and point the finger at other people. Say, they're the ones who did it. They're the ones who tripped me up. They're the ones who fucked me over somehow. Point the finger at other people or at circumstances or God or the devil or whomever, but just point it away from yourself. That's one path. That's the wrong path. That's the absolute wrong path. See? Because when you point the finger away from yourself, when you refuse to look into your own heart and try to figure out what went wrong, when you point away, you don't learn. You're not looking at yourself, because ultimately that's the whole issue of learning about yourself. You have to look into yourself, and a lot of times that's no fun. Because in a very real sense, you're like dissecting your soul, you know? I mean, but who wants to be doing that? It's fucking unpleasant, right? It is easy to point the finger at others, at circumstances, at your enemies, quote unquote, and be deluded into thinking that you had nothing to do with your failure. It was all somebody else's fault. That is the easy path, and I'm here to tell you from experience, not my own, thankfully, but the experience I've seen of other people who have fallen into that trap. When you point the finger away from yourself and point it at other people or other circumstances or other, and not look at yourself, you're not only not going to grow, you're not going to improve yourself, but you will start to spiral into bitterness, and your soul, your spirit, will become a shriveled thing. And I've seen it. In point of fact, you know, there's this YouTuber that you all know, who's done that. He's pointing away from himself and pointing at other people as if other people are the reasons that he made the horrible decisions that he made. He refuses to look at himself. But when you look at yourself, when you look into your own heart, when you look into your own soul, after a failure, after you've woken up at 3 in the morning staring at the ceiling, and you get up and you go to the kitchen, or rather shuffle to the kitchen, as if, you know, a gang of beasts had beaten the ever-living shit out of you. And you get to the kitchen and you sit down there in the kitchen table, you know, and you light your cigarette and you drink your coffee and you're saying, what the fuck happened? Where did I go wrong? That's the nadir. But paradoxically, that's the best moment of a failure. It's the best moment because it's at that point when you accept the fact that you fucked up. Somehow you fucked up. And you start to examine where you fucked up. Well, you will quickly find where you fucked up, and you will be able to improve that. That's the whole point. You will be able to improve it for the next time. And the next time, that thing that you made a mistake previously, well, it won't happen again now, will it? Because you will have grown. You will know more about yourself. Suppose a project has, I don't know, let's say 26 parts to it, okay? From A to Z. 26 parts, 26, variables. Variable A all the way through variable Z. You succeed, and you will have no idea if any of those variables worked as it should or not. And you'll start to fool yourself into thinking that everything that you did was perfect, and that's why you succeeded, right? But when you fail, you get to look at that string of variables from A to Z, and you start to look at each one of them, and you start to figure out, where was the failure? Why was it that you didn't succeed? Why did you fail? And you start looking at each one from A, B, C, all the way through to the final issue. And it could be that your failure really wasn't your fault. It could very well be that. That often happens. That some other, bad luck happens. I don't know. You were setting up a factory and, an asteroid fell and blew it away, and you hadn't yet signed the papers for the insurance contract, yeah? And, you're shit out of luck, right? That's bad luck. When it's bad luck, and you shrug your shoulders and move on. But you should never assume that every failure is just bad luck, okay? You always have to examine the failure from A to Z, no matter how painful that is. And you have to look at everything that you did and, hand to heart, ask yourself, did I fuck up? Did I play this wrong? Did I make the bad choice? Or was it okay and this was okay, it was the next thing, or whatever? You see what I'm saying? You have to be honest. It's the one time in your life when you truly, truly have to be honest, if only with yourself. See? You have to be honest with the failures that have befallen you, and you have to be honest as to whether you're at fault. If you're not at fault, fine, but don't try to say that everything is somebody else's fault or you had no blame in your failure. Okay? Because that's not true. I mean, we both know it. I know it because I failed. I failed in really big things. And a lot of those failures had to do with my deficiencies. And I just had to face up to them. I had to face up to them and correct them so that they didn't happen the next time. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes in some of my successes, I think to myself, hand to heart, I succeeded in spite of myself, in spite of the fuck-ups that I did along the road to that success. It's practically a fucking miracle that I actually did succeed in some of the things I was doing because I was fucking it up so righteously along the way. It's like, I was trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, Yeah, that happens to everybody. It happens especially when you're young. And that is why a lot of times young people who have great successes when they're young, they don't amount to much. Lots of times those guys who succeed huge when they're young, they get blinded. They start buying their own brand of bullshit. They think that they are king shit of turd mountain. And you see, a lot of times success breeds success, right? But eventually you hit the wall. It's just a matter of time. And when those guys who have started out young and it's been, just a golden road ahead of them, all success after success, when they hit that wall, they don't recover. They just do not recover from that hit. Now, don't take the blame for everything, okay? If you're not to blame for your failure, well, you're not to blame for your failure, I mean, come on, we're not, this isn't self-flagellation we're talking about here, right? We're talking about growing. We're talking about figuring out who you are. And it's just as important as knowing what your virtues and abilities are. It's important to find out your deficiencies, the things that you are weak at, the things that you lack as a man. Okay? And failure, that's why failure is so important. Because that's when you get to see. Because success just blinds you. It's so fucking bright that it just blinds you and confuses you. The light comes down when you fail. It's failure that allows you to see who you really are.